Senator Ted Cruz, United States Senator from Texas. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Bill. It's always good to be with you.
Great to be with you. Boy, we talked to you a lot during the campaign, and you got elected, and man, your star is just rising. Can it go any higher? That's an unfair question. Never mind.
Well, it has certainly been a whirlwind, and it's been inspirational to see. I mean, as you know, the race for Senate in Texas was viewed, and I think viewed rightly by a lot of folks as almost an impossible climb. And What we saw was just this incredible army of grassroots activists come together, and I found it really humbling and inspiring to see what so many thousands upon thousands of conservatives could do working together to overcome very, very difficult odds.
Well, your Army's now nationwide, that's for sure. You got a ton of support out there. But didn't you get the rule book? Didn't you get the memo? You're supposed to be dull. You're supposed to be uninteresting. You're supposed to keep your mouth shut. You're not supposed to talk. Benjamin Disraeli, advice to a new member of Parliament. Debuts should be dull, he said. Not so in the case of Senator Cruz.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to do my best to follow the Bill Bennett model.
There you go. Okay, well, you embarrassed me. I wish that were true. Senator, let's talk about Obamacare. We had Mike Lee on yesterday. He was talking about, let's try to stop this thing. A lot of people have called this show saying, can't we use the funding mechanisms to stop Obamacare? What's your thoughts, sir?
You know, I think we have the best opportunity we're going to have to stop Obamacare coming up in the next 67 days, which is, as you know, the Constitution gives many checks and balances, and the most important check and balance that Congress has over an overreaching executive is the power of the purse, the power to cut off money. On September 30th, the continuing resolution that funds the federal government expires. And I've publicly pledged, along with Mike Lee and Marco Rubio and a number of other senators, that under no circumstances will I vote for a continuing resolution that funds one penny of Obamacare. If we can get Republicans to stand together and do that, we can actually defund this bill, not talk about it, not cast an empty symbolic vote, but actually defund it, and it's all going to come down to the next 67 days and whether the American people can come together with such resounding force that it demands that our elected representatives listen to us and do the right thing.
Senator Cruz, unless I'm mistaken, tell me if I am, when you say get Republicans together, I would translate that to mean you got to get at least 40 or 41 Republicans together, right, to filibuster, to stop further action, because you're not going to get this approved by the full Senate, and you're not going to get the president to sign it.
Right. No, that's exactly right. But the reason we can get it done here is we need to simply stop any continuing resolution that does fund Obamacare, and Republicans have the votes to do that. We don't have to wait till after 2014 or 2016. We have the votes with this leverage point to defund it, and we need one of two things. We need either 41 Republicans in the Senate or we need 218 Republicans in the House. Now, to be perfectly candid with you, Bill, today we don't have the votes. There are a lot of Republicans who are terrified of doing this, and the reason is simple. What I believe should happen, I think the House should pass a continuing resolution that funds the entire federal government except for Obamacare, and that explicitly prohibits any funding going to Obamacare. Now, if that happens, the next step in this play, we know what it is, which is that President Obama and Harry Reid will immediately begin screaming that the evil, mean, nasty Republicans are threatening to shut down the government. And we've got to be prepared to win the argument, to make the case, no, why is President Obama threatening to shut down the government in order to force Obamacare down the throats of the American people when the wheels are coming off, when this is becoming a train wreck? It's not working, and the American people understand it's not working. But we've got to go and make that argument to people. Since we don't have the votes now, the only thing that will change it is if in the next 67 days enough conservatives come together nationally, begin lighting up the phones, begin signing our national petition. We've got a national petition at tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. If enough conservatives come together and speak with one voice, I believe we could demand of Republicans that they stand up and do the right thing. But right now, we don't have the votes.
We have a ton of calls and more questions. Is there any way you could stay one more short segment if we have you out before the bottom of the hour?
Sure, happy to do it.
Great, that'd be great. Let me ask you this. One argument, not one you've mentioned, but one argument we get, because we have a conscientious audience, a patriotic audience, a law-abiding audience. You're a law school graduate and been a judge and very experienced in matters like this. People say, well, we shouldn't do this because it is the law. We don't like it, but they passed the law, and it is the law. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'd say a couple of things. Number one, this administration has demonstrated over and over again that it is not going to follow the law, and in fact that it's selectively enforcing the law.
Okay.
Most tellingly, just a few weeks ago, the administration, as you know, announced that it was going to delay the employer mandate until after the next election. There's nothing in the law that lets them do that. It's completely lawless.
Okay.
But there are two important concessions that the administration made in doing that. The first one is that Obamacare isn't working, that the wheels are coming off of this thing. Now, why is that the case? Well, because if Obamacare was working, if it were a good thing, they would want it to kick in before the election.
Yeah.
The fact that they are very, very worried about electoral accountability, about the American people throwing the bums out because Obamacare is such a train wreck, is a powerful concession just how bad this bill is.
Okay, good.
Secondly, the exemption they put in is for large corporations.
Yeah,
and what I think we should do is treat hardworking American families. I don't think large corporations should get a break that hardworking American families don't. I think everyone should be exempted from this train wreck.
Right. We'll be back with Senator Ted Cruz, and he'll stay one more segment. We'll take a call or two. I know a lot of you want to talk to him. 866-680-6464. Oh, you got to hear a little of this. I know this will inspire the Senator.
Amarillo by morning.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Amarillo by morning.
Up from San Antonio.
That's a pretty good trip. Ted Cruz stays with us, United States Senator from Texas. I'm going to get out of the way of the caller, Senator, because they want to get right in on this campaign of yours. Enid.
Bill, I got to say, the music you're playing is making me miss home and wish I weren't in Washington, D.C. right now.
I understand. There's some good Texas restaurants around, but I don't know. It's not the same, you know. They don't know chicken fried steak from a beaver. Enid is in Marietta, Georgia. Go ahead, Enid.
Good morning, Senator Cruz. How are you?
Good morning, Enid. It's great to be with you.
Well, it is great to hear you. I've been following you. I am originally from Houston, Texas. I think you're doing the state proud. What I want to say is that I yesterday emailed both my senators, Isaacson and Chambliss, urging them to sign Mike Lee's letter of intent that to not fund one penny of the Affordable Care Act in the upcoming continuing resolution. The question I have for you is, I hear what you're saying and I believe you, but what could possibly be terrorizing the Republicans who are not on board when all the polls say that, 35% like this thing and everybody else hates it?
Latest CBS poll, Enid and Senator, 47 opposed, 34 in favor every day. More people are opposed. Well, what is the terror about?
You know, a lot of them are afraid that, number one, we've had multiple meetings where Republican after Republican says, we can't win. We cannot win this fight. Obama will never give in. And I find it very curious why they assume he will stick to his principles, but we never get to stick to our principles.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But it comes down to the fact that they are really scared of being blamed for a government shutdown. And part of it is some people who lived through the 95 shutdown, they remember it. I mean, Bill Clinton beat the stuffing out of Republicans in Congress, but they forget that was actually a tremendously successful chapter in leadership. As a result of those two shutdowns, we've seen it before, the world didn't end.
Yeah.
But as a result of those shutdowns, we saw year after year a balanced budget,
Yeah.
some of the most fiscally responsible policies that Congress has ever produced because Republicans stood up and had the courage to go through a shutdown. And the next election, in the Senate, we picked up 2 seats, despite the fact that Bob Dole got clobbered with just 40% of the popular vote nationwide.
Let me ask you this, Senator Cruz, a 40,000-foot question. We've had Byron York, whom you know, a journalist,
Sure.
on our show a lot. He said this is the critical year for Obamacare, the year the rubber hits the road. He said this is the year, a little longer time than you have, time frame, to stop Obamacare. Because he said January 1, the money starts flowing.
Yep.
And once
that's exactly
the money,
right.
You think that's right? Okay, I just wanted to get your sense of that.
Well, and that's the administration's plan, I believe. They want to get to January 1 because January 1, the exchanges come up and the subsidies start. And in particular, you know, along with delaying the employer mandate, they also just decided they're not going to enforce any of the eligibility requirements, which means that basically it's like liar loans. You can come in and anyone can claim, oh yeah, I deserve a subsidy, and you can get it.
Yeah.
And their plan is to get Americans addicted to this massive new entitlement. And once the money starts flowing, it in all likelihood will prove practically impossible.
Our friend Jim Capretta at Ethics and Public Policy, student of this, said he predicts sooner or later this thing will collapse of its own weight. He said, but that collapse could take 4 or 5 years and be very costly in the process to people, lives, incomes, doctors, medicine, practice, and so on, and health.
I think that is right. That if it gets implemented, it is going to wreak havoc. But it's also going to do permanent damage, I think, to the private insurance market. And look, this bill was designed to collapse. Its authors knew it was going to collapse. Why? Because when it collapses, if it's destroyed the private insurance market, the only option is going to be single-payer, government-socialized health care, which a lot of the extreme left, that's their objective anyway.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your generosity this morning, your time. Thanks, Senator Cruz.
Well, thanks for your leadership, and it's always a great chance to visit with you and your tremendous listeners.
Thank you. Congratulations on what you're doing. Great, making a great mark and getting a lot of people to believe in politics again. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. We'll be back.
We're out.